So what should you consider, right? And what are strategies that you want to think about here? All right. So you see this picture on the left here, right? It's this is at CSM in 2022. My boss Ross Nakaji is across from me, but I don't know anybody else at that table. And this is a perfect form of what networking could be, right? This is simply just, we're going out to dinner and we're just having conversations, right? Some of it's to do with PT, some of it has to do with life, right? And that's how you get to meet people. It's the same way you make friends, the same way you date, all that above, right? That's what you should be thinking about when you're networking, right? It's not about what you can get from somebody. It's more about getting to know somebody as a person, right? And if you understand them as people and you're kind of vibing with that person, now you can have a conversation. And now it's not just transactional. And I think that's really important to understand with networking and from a strategy standpoint. You just want to get to know them as a person first, right? Just have conversations. It'll happen organically then, right? Some type of conversation will happen organically around the topic you want, or sometimes it is okay to ask those questions, but also just to have conversations too. So there's a strategy on both sides, right? If you're approaching someone that's going to be a quick thing and you have a question, that's one way. You can follow up later via different forms, emails, messages, things like that, thanking them. And then, in these type of settings, right, you're just having conversations and it'll just happen organically. One other strategy you should probably really consider is, once you do start to meet people, think about ways that you can help them, right? Not what you can get out of it, because if you have a contact for them or this or that, like, that's the whole point of networking. That's the whole point of, creating relationships with people is seeing what you can do to help them. And I think that will ultimately yield more, because you'll meet people that way too. You connected a friend with somebody new, or a new person with a friend. Both people benefited there. Yeah, I guess you didn't benefit, but you did because you helped somebody. And those people remember that later on, and maybe you're top of mind then when something else pops up that makes sense for you. So, just understand that helping people is probably the best strategy you're going to have in networking, because if you do that and you add value to them, there's going to be a time where they're probably going to have to add value back to you, because it's just going to come up organically. I keep a close list of contacts, right? And just see, hey, how do I nurture these people? How do I help them? And just start looking at that like every quarter, right? So 4 times a year. You could do it more for sure, but definitely at least every quarter, look at it and be like, who do I want to reach out to? Who's new? Who do I have a good relationship with that I haven't chatted with in a while? Who should I reach out to? If you don't make that list, a lot of times things are forgotten. And then remember to follow up, right? I mentioned this earlier, but follow-up is really important. You meet someone for the first time, follow up with them. Not just once, but twice or 3 times. Obviously not right in a row, but use that time to follow up, because now you're going to be sunk into somebody's mind as well. And then you're going to actually really build a good relationship with somebody. Once is usually not enough. It does happen, but it's not usually often, right? I mean, think about dating, think about friendships. You meet somebody once, you kind of get along, you go out with them once. It doesn't mean it's going to stick forever. That's why you got to nurture these things and nurture relationships and try to help people constantly. Look at it every quarter. And then lastly, just create an omnipresence, right? And that could be your online presence. That could be publication, whatever it may be. People around those people that you want to get in contact with is really important too, right? Let's say there's somebody that you want to get in contact with, but you've already established a relationship around those other people and you're having conversations. They're going to automatically bring you up organically. It's going to come up in conversation, and then it's in an easier introduction. Like, oh, hey, it's great to meet you. You're talking with somebody. I've actually been wanting to chat with you for a while. I'm really close with Kurt. I know you worked with him in the past at your previous job. He said to say hello, by the way. I told him I was going to run into you here. Now it's an organic conversation. Now you have something to talk about as well, right? So these are things to consider and